satellites are remote sensing tools. Remote sensing just means that if you have an instrument that measures a certain subject or phenomenon, it doesn't have to make contact with that specific subject or phenomenon. It can measure the characteristics of that phenomenon from a distance. There are two main remote sensing tools that we use in meteorology: radar and satellite. Both of these use electromagnetic waves to make their measurements. Electromagnetic waves are just waves that have an electric field and a magnetic field that move through space. Now, these waves come in different wavelengths. The wavelength of an electromagnetic wave, or any wave for that matter, is the distance from the crest of one wave to the next. There are several different types of electromagnetic waves, each with a different wavelength, and that creates what we call the electromagnetic spectrum. This is just a spectrum of all the different wavelengths of electromagnetic energy there are. A couple things to note: every object in the universe emits some kind of radiation, whether it's a tree, a house, a car, the sun, a skin cell. Doesn't matter. Every single object in the universe emits some type of radiation. And also, the shorter the wavelength of an electromagnetic wave is, the greater the energy is in that wave.
The Chaser Academy is our premium subscription, and it's the best deal in storm chasing. Link in the description.
So we'll start at the top here where your longest wavelengths are found, going all the way down to the bottom where your shortest wavelengths are found. Your longest wavelength energy is going to be radio waves. So AM radio, FM radio, microwaves, and radio waves are what Doppler radar uses to measure the characteristics of their targets. The wavelength of energy that's emitted by Doppler radars is on the order of a few centimeters at most. So those are your longest wavelength waves. Those are going to be radio waves. Also, objects like a house, for example, that is going to emit long wave radiation as well in that same portion of the spectrum. Then we go down the spectrum to shorter wavelengths, for example, ultraviolet radiation. That's going to be what the sun emits. X-rays as well. And then your shortest wavelength energy is going to be gamma rays. This is the energy that's emitted via radioactive decay. So if you were to go down to the basement of the Chernobyl nuclear power plant toward the elephant's foot, that's emitting a massive amount of gamma radiation, which is extremely toxic to humans. Now, the only portion of the electromagnetic spectrum that we can actually see with the naked eye as humans is in this tiny portion called the visible portion of the spectrum. These wavelengths correspond to light, and different colors are going to have slightly different wavelengths. So the wavelengths that are coming through in the sky that cause the sky to be blue are going to have a slightly different wavelength than, say, an open flame or fire. That's going to be more of your orange and yellow wavelengths, which are slightly different than the blue wavelengths. Different materials absorb certain wavelengths of energy, including the atmosphere. This is critical to how satellites work. Not all the radiation from the sun reaches the Earth's surface, and not all the outgoing radiation from the Earth's surface goes back out into space. Some of it is absorbed by the atmosphere, while other wavelengths pass through. These particular wavelengths, these portions of the electromagnetic spectrum that are able to pass through instead of being absorbed, these are called atmospheric windows. These atmospheric windows are sensed by satellites, which allows us to get a peek into the atmosphere. We can look at the atmosphere using various wavelengths, each of which allow us to get different information about the weather that's ongoing below. There are 16 different atmospheric windows or wavelengths that pass through that the satellites can sense. These are called bands or channels.
Remember to check out those links in the description below, and then watch another video.